Thanks everyone for joining me for another episode of the Travel Collective Let's Talk Travel, where we meet all kinds of adventures we can take on, whether it's a walking tour, an art retreat, small boat adventures, whatever it might be. So I'm excited to have some new guests. Um, in the show notes, we'll have access to their websites and anyone can reach out to me directly. So I'm going to start and introduce Melissa. So, Melissa, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. So tell us about the trip for 2025 that you still have spots on.
Okay, well, I have two trips coming up. One is in Maine in August. That one's pretty full, though, I think. Then I have spots still left in my Ireland retreat in September. And that is a retreat that I've done every year for about 8 years, and I just keep continuing to refine it and add new guides and new destinations. It's a combination of watercolor painting, and you don't have to have experience, as well as touring sacred sites and cultural tours. Um, Really great places to stay, both places. I take people to two different spots because I feel like if people are going to another country, then they want to see at least two places. And sometimes they don't have time to travel on their own. So we are on the water in both places. So we're in the southwest of Ireland the whole time. The first place we are on a big lake in Killarney, and it's a gorgeous hotel called the Lake Hotel with different restaurants, a pub. All the rooms are facing the lake. It's spectacular, and the food is amazing. And if you've ever had breakfast in the UK, then you know that, they lay out these buffets that are just outrageous. So you don't even need to eat again the rest of the day. And we do about 4 days there. And then we move on to a place right on the ocean in Dingle, on the Dingle Peninsula. And this is a place that I rent every year because not only does it have spectacular views, it's got the ideal place for us to set up and paint. It's a huge sunroom with a long set of tables and a lot of large common spaces. So, in both of these places, we're on the water, and in both of these places, we have day tours out. So we are not just sitting there painting all day, but we are actually touring. I have really wonderful guides. They're very entertaining. And if you've been to Ireland before, then you know that they have a great sense of humor. So they're always telling jokes and making us laugh. So, the cultural tours, and they are sacred site tours. And the one that I added last year is through the Gap of Dunlow. And this was just spectacular because you take they call them pony and traps. So you're on a horse and buggy kind of thing through some of it. It's this gap between the mountains. I'm probably not going to describe it very well, but it is a gap. And the scenery around you is amazing. You're going through the mountains, you're on the water. So we also, and part of the journey back, we're in a boat, with these boatmen that have had these boats in their families for generations. And so they have really cool stories to tell. And they might pull out a tin whistle and just kind of spontaneously entertain us like that too. So we go through this Gap of Dunlow, and so far, and I'm afraid to say this, but knock on wood, these trips, Ireland is well known for not the best weather, but on all of my retreats, for some reason, we've just been blessed with really glorious weather. So, what else would I like to share? Just great people. The people in Ireland are among the friendliest and funniest. And I've traveled into a lot of different places. So I like going back to Ireland because the people are so wonderful and always friendly. If you're lost, they just go out of their way to help you find your way and offer you suggestions of things to do, places to go, best ways to get there. It's a fabulous trip. I've had many people come more than once.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So
It is
tell
amazing.
tell everyone the exact dates in September.
It's the 15th through the 26th of September. And we have 1 day to recover from jet lag. Um, there are single rooms available and shared rooms, whatever fits your budget.
Okay. Nancy and Heather, did you have
Yeah,
questions?
so question, how many people do you have usually join you?
They're tiny, tiny tours. I don't like to have more than 10 people. So usually it averages between 8 and 10 people.
Okay, great. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
like small group, you get to know everybody and it's a lot more fun than herding cats. So
And it is kind of herding cats anyway, depending on the personalities that gather. You know how that is.
yeah, absolutely. And you said there are single rooms. Is there like a single supplement or is it just priced by?
Yeah, there are single supplements on the trip. Although it depending how many facilities I use, there is a single supplement, but it may turn out that people get singles anyway. Just depends.
Right. What was the starting city, Melissa? Like the city that people should fly in to meet you? Talk a little bit
Okay,
about those
that's
logistics.
a really good question because personally, I like to avoid Dublin. It's a big city. I'm not really a city person, and the airport is huge. I don't know if you've been there, but it's huge. So because we are located in the southwest of Ireland, I have people fly into Shannon. And, sometimes people do want to fly into Dublin and spend a couple of days, and that's fine too. You just have to make your way down to Shannon, well, down to where we are by the time the retreat starts. And I actually do have quite a few people do that. It's about 4 hours away.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, not too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
The good thing, if they still have it with the Dublin airport, is you can go through customs at the Ireland side, and so you avoid
Right.
US customs. So it's kind of a nice opportunity.
Yes, it's true. You just have to allow enough time. I remember the first time I did it, I was kind of taking my time in the airport, looking at every little thing, and then it's like, oops.
Yeah, it helps you avoid the connection on the other and going through customs and then having to make your connection in US. So
Right.
yeah.
Can you give us a ballpark on price, Melissa, for
Gosh, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it is around 3,995, around that. So, around 4,000, and it's 11 nights.
11 nights? Wow. Okay. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's not, airfare is not included. Some food is included. Maybe, I don't know, maybe three-quarters of your food is included for the price.
So kind of, I know you mentioned a lot of day tours and excursions. Can you kind of give people like maybe a typical day since you are including some like art aspect and some watercolor aspect?
Yeah, a typical day. Let's see. Some days we are out the whole day, where I have hired a bus and a driver. And I'm not a driver, an extra guide. They call them step-on guides. And we'll go out and it might be sacred sites or it might be, down in Dingle, the guide is just lovely. He likes to show us all the places his kids go to school and where he grew up and where he had his first date. And anyway, we also go to the Blasket Museum, which is a really beautiful little museum that talks about the Blasket Islands. And we have lunch there. We're out all day on that particular day, so we visit some of the beehive huts and some of the wells and things around there. In Killarney, when we're out for our day trip and when we're out all day, we are we go to a place called Molly Gallivan's, which is a really cool farm. It's been a working farm for, gosh, I don't know how many generations. And the man who runs it now, it was his aunts, I think. And they do a really splendid job of keeping everything authentic in terms of how it was back in the day. And then we go to a few others. I'm not going to name every little spot we go because
No,
then
I
there's
know. It gives
surprise.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to
But
give away all the surprises.
yes, so we go a few other places that day. And then other days we might be have like the morning free and then we're painting in the afternoon or a couple of optional places in Killarney that we can actually walk to. Um, and then paint. So sometimes it's half a day painting and then some time out. Sometimes it's all day painting down in Dingle. A couple of the last days is all day painting because by then people have so many gorgeous photographs of the places that they've been to that they want to do paintings of them.
All right.
And so it's a lot of people that, quite a few people come. They might have seen my work around and they just know who I am, so they feel comfortable traveling with me and they don't know how to paint. And then they end up being the ones who are the most involved with their painting and can't leave their work spot and they really get into it.
Nice.
And so I actually put some of my stuff over here, my images, just because sometimes people discover that they might have seen my work around because I've been around for a long time. So this is a painting that it's quite well known. So a lot of people know that one. And I have a greeting card company. So that's another one. And another.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have a book was published by Llewellyn Publishing. This is called 99 Keys to a Creative Life. And they actually asked me to write the book because they wanted someone that would write a book that talks about the connection between creativity and spirituality. So I did that a few years ago. And then there's 2 card decks. This one is a little goddess on the go that's produced by US Games. They're a big tarot card publisher. This one is self-published, the Anything is Possible card deck. So you can get a little bit of a feel that way for who I am and what I do. I've been a professional artist my whole life, but I've also been interested in self-awareness and spirituality and meditation. And I like the combination of all those things. So that's what makes my tours a little bit different. They're not dedicated art tours and they're not dedicated meditation tours, but they're a nice combination of both.
Nice. Heather, did you have any questions you can think of?
Are there a lot of sheep in Ireland?
There's a ton of sheep in Ireland. Everywhere you go, there's sheep in Ireland.
That's the same for Scotland.
Yes, but different kind of sheep. In Scotland, there's those big red ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my people have been asking me to do a Scotland one, but I haven't pulled that together yet. But there's a lot of cows in India. I was in India this past winter, because I have to kind of fill my own cup too, so I can give other people inspiration. And there's just cows walking around in the street, just like the sheep in Ireland.
Okay. Well, I told my mother someday the sheep will be in charge of Scotland.
They'll be in charge of Scotland?
They'll be the government.
I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad thing.
It's a joke. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Anyone else have questions for Melissa?
Sounds lovely.
Sounds great,
It's
Melissa.
wonderful.
Tell us your website.
My website is melissaharris.com. melissaharris.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Scott Richards. Welcome.
Hey, April.
Hey.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. So I understand you have a river cruise you want to share with us.
I absolutely do. First, I want to make comment to Melissa. She's a wonderful artist. I failed stick figures, so I'm completely and totally envious of her skills.
Oh, thank you. Well, everybody's got their talents.
Mine is not artistic.
Well, I'm sure you have yours, though.
Absolutely. So thank you again for the time. I wanted to talk about a river cruise that I'm promoting that I'm going on next year. It's actually August 2nd through the 9th of 2026, and it's on AMA Waterways and their flagship, the AMA Magna. As a matter of fact, the itinerary is called the Magna on the Danube.
Oh, wow.
It's the cruise itself departs from Bielefeldt, Germany, and you'll go through 4 countries. So you'll start off in Germany through Bielefeldt. The next day you're in Passau, and then you cross over into Austria, going through to the towns of Linz and Grein, and then the next day Melk and Spilz. So in and of itself, some really gorgeous little towns in the Wachau Valley, just absolutely stupendous. Day 6, you go to Vienna. You're spending the entire day in Vienna, Austria, for which, to be perfectly honest, is one of my favorite cities. It's right up there with Munich as far as the rich culture and the history of it, and the architecture is just stupendous. They set on the 7th of August, you go into Bratislava, which is really an interesting town when you think about it. Slovakia used to be part of this Soviet Union, so it's kind of going through that whole evolution of coming out of the Eastern European financial situations to becoming really enriched by, I guess, Western culture from a financial perspective. It's evolving, it's growing, it's still got a lot of its heritage in there, but it's a rather modern city. And then the cruise itself ends up in Budapest, Hungary, which is an absolutely also a gorgeous city with really some spectacular sights. So the one thing I love about AMA, in the US, you see a lot of advertisements for Viking river cruises. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen an AMA Waterways television ad. AMA's fantastic from the perspective of they call themselves the heart of the river, and they truly deliver a first-class experience for cruisers. And I know that some people have a perspective of cruising, and the first thing that pops in their mind is going to be the ocean cruises with the big ocean liners. You've got all the promotions around the icon of the seas, and it's 6,500 guests and so forth, and that gets daunting. The thing I love about river cruising is these are truly small ships. The AMA Magna is the largest river cruise ship on the rivers, and it only holds 198 people. So as they were talking about with Melissa and the size for her groups, the smaller groups definitely allow for an enricher engagement, not just with the crew, the destinations that you're going to, but also with your shipmates. It's a lot easier to have connections with 198 people than 6,500 of your closest friends. The wonderful thing about AMA is also the food. So for those of you who are foodies, the AMA Waterways partners with the Centre de Surf, which is kind of like the American Culinary Academy in Europe. So all of their cuisine is day to day. It's day fresh. Basically, they're trying to cut down on the last food mile, if you will. So the culinary experience changes every day. Now, mind you, there are always some staples. You can always get a burger at lunch or get a steak at dinner, but it's really a diverse flavoring around where you're at within the cruise. So you may have some German cuisine, obviously some Austrian and Hungarian as you go through it. On the river cruises, if you've been on an ocean cruise, everything's kind of a la carte, so you're paying for your excursions. All of the excursions in each of the cities are included. Some actually have 2. The only experience that I saw on the AMA Waterways when I went to Vienna on it last time was in the evening. There is a charge fee for a classical concert in the heart of Vienna. So that's an add-on that actually does have a surcharge to it. But other than that, in each city, you'll have a cultural experience. They're also promoting health and welfare. So you have a health manager, if you will, or a fitness manager that has, your calisthenics or stretching. But in each city, you also have the opportunity for a bike tour. Oh. And one of the most fantastic things I experienced was riding a bicycle along the Danube River through the Wachau Valley, going to the city of Melk, where they have a Benedictine Abbey that's a UNESCO heritage site. So all of this is just such a wonderful way to basically come in and unpack your bag and go through 4 countries. There's no driving. You don't have to worry about tolls or parking. And the wonderful thing about a river cruise is you actually dock in the heart of the city. You're literally walking out the steps off your river cruise ship, and there you are in the heart of the town, which is rather spectacular. You don't have to gaggle onto a bus and drive 20 miles to go see your excursion. It's really a wonderful experience if you haven't been on one. AMA, you can do your own air. AMA also allows you to package the airfare with your cruise, and if you do so, it includes the transfer from the airport to the ship. In this scenario, if you were going on this, you were just doing the cruise, you would fly into Munich, Germany, and fly home from Budapest.
Oh.
Now, the one thing that's nice with the river cruises is they also offer pre and post cruise experiences. So in this cruise scenario, you have a 3-day pre-land experience that's in Prague and a 2-day extension in Budapest. The great thing about this, in both situations, the cruise director is also your host when you're coming into these pre and post excursions. So you're already establishing a relationship with one of the key members of the crew. So they help you through the whole process, the transfers and so forth, and it just makes it a lot more enriching experience. They don't have drink packages, so that's one of the things that's nice. But the one thing that is good is with each river cruise, you're getting free wine and beer with lunch, free wine and beer with dinner. There's normally a happy hour, what they call a sip and sail, and basically within the sip and sail, that's where they're going to bring you in and tell you about the next destination that you're going to, the history, some of the key sites that you're going to see, and all of the excursion leaders that I experienced were degreed. They have to go through a country test certification so that they can prove that they know the city that they're giving you the tour of, the region, the history, all of the high points, so that you're getting the most rich experience that you can for your trip. The other things that everyone wants to know, so what else is included? They use Starlink for Wi-Fi, so if you still want to do your April, if you want to do your blogging as you do, you've got pretty good high-speed internet as far as working through Starlink. It really is a wonderful, rich experience. I do have to throw out a disclaimer. Within the river cruises in Europe, there's no ADA certification. So obviously, if you have some mobility issues, work with Travel Advisor and the cruise to see what capabilities and requirements you have. There are obviously within Europe, you've got a lot of cobblestone streets, you've got a lot of uneven transfers, if you will. And in some cases, when you're in a river cruise, you actually come in and bumper to bumper up against another river cruise ship. So if you're on the outside, you have to cross through another cruise ship. So the mobility is something that has to be considered. And again, they aren't ADA compliant because there isn't an ADA responsibility in Europe. But that's the river cruise. Right now, all of the fixed window rooms are filled. So we're starting between 2 different classifications of balconies and suites.
Nice. Questions?
Now, I was on an AMA trip on the Rhine from Amsterdam to Switzerland several years ago with my mom, who has mobility issues. It wasn't bad. I remember they had 3 different levels of excursions that you can join depending on the slow people. Then there was the regular people, and then there's the bikers and hikers and adventure people. So it was nice to have those options, and I thought they did a great job, at least on the one I did, for picking.
And that's consistent, Nancy. That's absolutely consistent. So, for example, of course I'm losing it off the top of my head. Went to a castle, and forgive me, I'm just absolutely losing this town off the top of my head. But it was the Dürnstein Castle, that's right. And we went up to the top of the I've got the town wrong, and my apologies. But it was up on the top of a hill. It was a nice little walk up to the top of the hill. But for those that had mobility issues, they got a ride up. They had a van that took them up to the top of the hill. Obviously, they want to make sure that it's as rich of an experience as possible for everyone.
Yeah. So are you a travel agent or do you work for AMA? Sorry.
Oh, I'm a travel agent and I'm a blogger.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Yes. Of course, I'm certified with as far as being a travel advisor for AMA, but no, I do not work for AMA.
Okay.
But Scott's a fabulous writer. I met Scott at the travel conference back last year in Spain, so we had a great time.
Actually, I think our first one was in Wisconsin. April.
Oh, that's right. You're right. It was, right. Yeah. That's how it's all starting to run together. But yeah, it does sound wonderful with 198 people. That's pretty manageable.
Yep. The other thing that's nice about the AMA Magna is since it is the largest, basically you've got double the width of a normal cruise ship. A normal cruise ship normally has about 160 people on it, but they only increased it by 30 more. So what they've done with the expansion of the footprint is they've added more dining facilities and experiences. So you've actually got 4 restaurants on the AMA Magna. You've got a full-size pickleball court on the top deck as well, and that's kind of the thing. It's really an amazing ship to do a tour of.
Do they go through locks like they do on?
Yes.
That was way fun. Was experiencing the locks.
And that's why the AMA Magna only sails on the Danube, because it is twice the width of a normal cruise ship. All of the ones that sail on the Rhine, the Main, and so forth are actually limited in their form factor because of the width of the locks themselves. The locks along the Danube are actually twice the width of a lock on the Rhine.
So those cruises, they go back and forth, if I recall, like. But the one you're talking about is in August. So is that cruise available at other times, or is there a reason why this one's different?
So this is the one I'm sailing on. It has a promotion that goes with it that right now if booked before the end of June, it's what they call a threefer. So it's based upon a double occupancy, $1,000 per person reduction to the fare. A upgrade within the class, and then a $100 per room for the excursion, again based upon double occupancy.
Okay.
But why I'm doing this one specifically is it's in the summer. My daughter's in college, so she's going with me.
Yeah.
So it's on the break and all that good stuff, and it's just an absolutely wonderful time to go to Central Europe.
So the fact that you're on it, does that mean we get you, or that you're just going to be one of the guests that we can talk to?
Well, I guess that's kind of a question of how you would like me engaged in your vacation.
All right.
In and of itself, I'm happy to hang out with folks and share what I know, but I also know that sometimes people just want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
I want people to come along and build a relationship and share a great experience on a really wonderful itinerary.
Yeah, and you've traveled to these cities before, Scott, if I recall correct.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm going to Vienna here for the Christmas markets in December.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I know you and I did an episode on Munich as well. You've spent a lot of time in Munich. So if people wanted to add on days in Munich, Scott's got information on his blog, or you can reach out to him directly too.
Oh, absolutely. I focus through Europe a lot on the German-speaking countries because of just my own heritage, my own personal interest. And this area is just amazing as you look from a history perspective. You've got the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You've got just some incredible periods of rich development. The music, you're talking Strauss, you're talking Mozart, you're talking the waltz philosophies, and of course you've got some pretty ugly history as well. But it all makes it's part of the fabric that makes this such a rich area.
There's ugly history everywhere.
Yeah.
No, there absolutely is. There absolutely is. And talking about the excursions, again, one of the ones that's actually pretty interesting is on the third day when you're in Linz. They actually offer two full day excursions. One is to Salzburg, and the other is to the Czech town of Český Krumlov.
Hmm.
So there, or you can do a walking tour of Linz, and there's obviously an afternoon one to fill the time there. But it really is it's a rich itinerary. I did this going the other direction last August. As she said, they go back and forth, but this is absolutely a wonderful experience.
What did you think of the weather, Scott, in August for people?
I'll be honest, it was spectacular.
Oh, good.
We had one hot day in Budapest, and then the rest of the days were in the 70s, some nice winds. Now, mind you, the week before I went, they had some rain. So it's to a degree, it's always hit or miss. But for the most part, August is a great time to be in Central Europe. It's some of the drier months, and you're probably batting 60%. You're going to have more sun than rain.
Yeah. Sounds
You're in
good.
Vegas, so you don't believe me, so that's fine.
No. It sounds like anything's probably cooler than Vegas in August, let's be honest.
That goes without saying.
Right, exactly. So, anyone else have questions for Scott? Scott, do you want to give out whatever you're comfortable, email, contact
Sure.
information? Yeah,
So absolutely, my website is timehonoredtravels.com, and my email address is scott@timehonoredtravels.com.
perfect. Great.
I have a
Again,
question.
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
I have heard before the term Christmas markets. So what is that?
So through most of Central Europe, you have markets that are set up in the city centers, and they're Christmas oriented. The history going to it was back in the day. Let's talk Munich since we talked about it previously. Going back to the 1100s, this is where the city would have its market in the center for everything that the family would need for the Christmas celebration. You would have the festival meats. You would have Glühwein, for which I'm not a fan of, but mulled wine, it's just not my thing. But the cities have made these recurring and incredibly fun experiences. And I think Deutsche Welle was saying in Germany alone, there were 21,000 separate Christmas markets. In Munich, I think there are 10 alone.
Wow.
So each town, I mean, some are big, some are small. The one in Cologne fills up the Cologne Cathedral grounds, so it's all around the cathedral. Just they're a fun experience, and of course
What do they
within Europe,
sell? Just like Christmas ornaments or
Christmas ornaments,
only Christmas
knickknacks,
stuff?
gifts, homemade stuff, homemade gifts. Um, it's more of to be honest, it's more of the cultural gathering of everyone coming into the center. You've got, like I said, you've got the Glühwein stands, Frambambuli, for which is basically Glühwein with a float of rum on top and a lit sugar cube. So these are it's a festival to bring people in and just get people together. Some of them are a little silly, some of them are a little redundant, but each city has some really wonderful cultural experiences from the food standpoint and what's available.
Okay, thank
And
you.
Ireland actually does have some Christmas markets as well in Dublin and Galway.
Oh, do they? Yeah, I'm not there in the winter, so I don't know, but makes sense.
Yeah.
I think one of the only countries in Central Europe that doesn't have Christmas markets are the Netherlands.
Huh. Okay.
They're a little bit more secular.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I'll share a little bit. I'm doing New England again this autumn. It's my favorite time of year to visit New England. I do a classic fall foliage tour. This year I'm doing it between October 11 and 18, 2025. I'm pricing it per person this year. It'll be $7,000 per couple or $3,500 per person. Most of the rooms are single rooms because I like to stay in bed and breakfast and small inns. We travel in one van that usually holds a max of 8 people. That's generally how I keep the group small and compact so that we can make stops. I'm kind of going to give it a little bit of a literary twist this year. I always spend an evening in Maine along the coast. We'll probably be visiting some small local bookshops. There's a lot of authors that have spent time in all of these places. Robert Frost has several locations in New Hampshire and Vermont. And when you think about it, besides visiting his home, what his poetry was writing about was the landscapes, the seasons, the trees. And those trees that he saw and walked through on his afternoon walks or evening walks, those are still standing there. So to me, it's just a moving experience. It's a lovely time of year to go there. Um, we'll also eat local places. To me, it's the best places are the ones that are local, mom and pop places, if possible. The little coffee shops, the country stores, which a country store was basically kind of like the department store, the all everything store of the day, where you could get your gas station out front. You know, if you needed some parts to fix something in your house, they had some hardware goodies. They had just, it's like a little bit of everything in there. And then towards the back, often they're making fresh salads and fresh cookies and soups. So for lunches, it's often a treat to stop there, because our hours of daylight are just so condensed. We forget now that we're in summer that by October, it's getting dark about 6 o'clock at night. So at 6 o'clock, we're not really able to enjoy the trees or walk in the woods as much. And interestingly enough, a lot of these small towns, they're not concerned about tourists as far as, staying open late to let you shop. The carpet rolls up at 5 or 6 o'clock, and that's when their shop closes. So, after dinner, we're kind of in for the evening. If you want to sit and have hot tea and, enjoy just sitting outside on your porch, I try to put us in places that are really pleasant, that have really that environment right outside the front door. It's a great place if you're creative, if you like to get out in the morning and take photos. I usually take a few people out at sunrise to do some photography. Some people use their photos to make watercolors or art prints later. I've seen that too. Or, just sit with their coffee and do writing. And sometimes by the end of the week, the ones that weren't going out at sunrise after seeing our photos are like, hey, can I go too? So it's a really nice way to experience autumn. So some of the other authors, Gilmanton in New Hampshire was the scene of Peyton Place, which is a classic at this point book. At the time, it was just scandalous that this woman was writing about the goings on in this little town. So we'll stop there, and some other places that kind of have to do with, places in our books, places we've seen in movies. On Golden Pond was filmed in parts of New Hampshire on the lakes. So lots of amazing places. I try to do a sampler, as I call it. We get some covered bridges, a lighthouse, some back roads, some trees. And if things are interesting and we see something we want to stop at, we try to stop along the way as well. So that's pretty much, and I'm a foodie, so we have to stop and sample some maple syrup, have some cider donuts, try out some local, cheese. Vermont is well known for its cheeses. I still order cheese and maple syrup from some of the same places I have been going to since the early 2000s. And prior to that, my parents and grandparents every fall went to these places. So it's just a wonderful place. So that's kind of it. I know I talk about New England a lot, but we'll put it out there again. I will be going, and hopefully some others will be joining me. I usually try to go even if there's just 2 or 3 of us. I try to make the trip anyways, so it's not like a specific minimum. As such, it's more my love of going and sharing the places I love, so hopefully you get to see it as well.
And where exactly do you go in New England?
I always start and end in Manchester, New Hampshire for the most part. It's a smaller airport. There are sometimes, last year I did pick up someone who took a bus from Boston up to New Hampshire. It's just easier for people. It's easier to get from the airport than to your lodging. It's just very manageable. And then right there, we're just ready to go. So we do the southern coast of Maine. We do Route 112, which is the famous Kank Highway through New Hampshire. That's always included. And then we do parts of Vermont as well. So there are some places that pretty much stay on the itinerary. But I do try to change it up depending on who goes on the trip because I do have repeat people sometimes.
I've gone multiple times.
I know Nancy has, that's true.
It sounds great.
It's an amazing, it's just so pretty. It's just nature, right? It's just being out there in nature, and it's like kind of like you in the water, Melissa. But you're in the forest with the trees.
Yeah, I'm in the Catskills, so
Yeah.
it's my area.
Yeah. So yeah, you get all the trees and you get the little cottages and all that. April does a fabulous job of picking really fun little places to stay and as you said, places to eat. She and I went, actually just the two of us on
Yeah,
my
we
first,
did.
and she was able to like, well, let's just go here.
I know, yeah, exactly.
All right, we go there. So
Right.
yeah, we kind of did a detour to cheese and all sorts of things because when it's a small group, you have that flexibility to kind of, oh, does everybody want to go there? Okay, we'll go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you guys, I've been to Ireland, I've been on AMA, so this is good.
Yeah, I know. This is
You're well
great.
traveled.
Right, right.
Well, the one thing that's awesome about New Hampshire and Vermont, and Melissa, you get that feeling as well up in the Catskills. It's just the little lodges and restaurants that are in these areas where you're poking around. They're just, I mean, they just add a different spice. And when you're talking autumn in New England, I was, if you could sit back and say I was blessed to be stationed somewhere. When I was in the Army, I was stationed up at Fort Devens during autumn, from September through December. So, I got the full foliage experience. It was wonderful up there.
Where is Fort Devens?
It used to be in central Massachusetts, not far from Worcester. I think it's been changed into a state penitentiary area, but it devolved over time.
Okay.
Yeah, central Massachusetts is amazing too. There's a lot.
Yes, there it is. It's beautiful.
But that whole area is gorgeous. Starting where Melissa's at, up through Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont. I live in Florida, so my hills are overpasses. So the whole aspect of having the change of topography coupled with the colors, I mean, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Where
I think
are you in Florida?
Pardon me?
Where in Florida are you?
Not far from Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and me living in Vegas now and spending, 20 years in California, I think you just need, if you've not seen or experienced the fall colors or the small towns, I remember some of my participants that, if you've always lived kind of in a metropolitan area, you're kind of amazed that these places still exist, that you can roll through a little town and you're like, oh my gosh, wait, that was it? There's like, and not always, see a Starbucks or, no offense to Starbucks in there, but it's just.
But I remember that, like, okay, we're not going to a Starbucks because there's so many really cool little coffee places that do their own roasting like there, and you got to stop and that's in chocolate. I'll do that.
Oh yeah, chocolate, right. There's so much
coffee, little chocolate, little cheese, I'm good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just little, artisans and people, the way of life, it's like a little bit slower. You can't, you're not going, the best stuff is off the 2-lane roads where, it's 30 miles an hour. You have the afternoon school bus and now you're down to 25 and 20 miles and waiting and you see all the little kids and, they got the little square in the middle with the afternoon, farmer's market. Again, you're buying stuff right there locally that, someone's telling you like, oh yeah, I got the honey out there from my trees and the maple syrup there. And it's just amazing, it's great.
You think about, for me, it's also the celebration of the senses, because some of my favorite things is you go out in the middle of October, and especially up there, you've got fireplaces going, you've got just the smell of the change of season.
Yeah.
It definitely hits you so hard.
Yeah, pumpkins and mums on every porch.
And just the smell of the leaves too, like when you're walking around, you can actually, you can just, your senses are just filled. And that's why too, sometimes, and I'm sure from Melissa, she finds this a little bit too when she's in Ireland, you can't promise that it's going to be great weather. So sometimes you alter a little bit what you're going to do, but that's just the beauty of being there, is like that there is a change of season, and that it might rain today, or you might, see a sunrise and a rainbow, or whatever you might encounter. So any other questions, Heather, Nancy, Scott, Melissa?
Sounds
Great.
like a lot of fun.
Sounds amazing. I'll share links for everyone. We'll post this for other interested travelers, and we'll try to do another one of these probably in the next few weeks, so we can share again and maybe share another place or a different angle about the trips. So thank you so much for joining us all tonight, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.